Piripi, piripi. Are we live? Yeah, yeah. Amazing. Okay. We are fine at any other day so far, it seems. Yeah, right? Correctly? Correct? Yes, it is true. Yeah, we're live. Perfect. Then, give me a second so that I can do this on feature. Oh God. Give me a second. This is dinosaur. This is content. This is the content that we love. Mm, give me a second. But anyways, aside from things that have nothing to do with this, I can probably say we are very fine. We we are doing very great so far. I didn't have that much of morning, as they would say. Um, Mostly because nothing really intense happened, so very chill in that sense. On one hand, while on the other, also trying to get almost everything ready. I had a tiny bit of an struggle, particularly. Hello, welcome. I had a little bit of a struggle trying to see what was it that we were going to do today, because I created, when was it, on the Sunday, on this past Sunday, I created the the schedule for this week, and I made it up on the spot. So I didn't put also almost any thought behind it. And because of that, I didn't know that we had to watch some content today. So yeah, content, quality content creator, I can myself, basically. But aside from that, we were very fine. We, we are here. That is the most important part of this. We are here. And I was also able to pin down the part which we have next at the Mahabharata, something that I also wanted to do, and everything should be on its place, so to speak. Yeah, there is one or two things that I am kind of sad about, because I I didn't really check, and I don't have, so to speak, my schedule in a place in which I can properly see what is it that I have to do. I need to skim for it over all the place. I guess, yeah, I might as well do it in a second. I will move it to my desktop, just in case, so that I can have it whenever I want it. Because if I have to follow the schedule, but to find that schedule, I need to go to my Twitter, and I need to go to my timeline, and I need to scroll down and down and down around the post that I make, and blah 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 blah. If I have to do all of that every single time, it gets not simply tiring, more like, bruh, I could make it easier on myself instead of going through such a process. So that basically, there it is. Now I have it over there. I don't know if I will really be able to follow it properly more than anything else. Well, one of the main things, for example, is I made an option. I ended up putting, because I was so focused on finishing the schedule, and mixing up some days, because I want to be on the evening of this next, what is it, Thursday. I want to be available to stream, because I have to go out and do some paperwork related to university. So I have to do that on one hand, and on the other. Mm, well, no, it isn't that much of a real problem. The side of having to follow the content, so it isn't even strictly. So yeah, it isn't that bad in reality. But well, aside from that, I now that we are already here, I can probably also say it is beautiful to be present. It is a very good occasion in which we can engage, and it really feels very nice to do this more than anything else, as it is a joyous act to enjoy yourselves in this manner, in this particular manner, more than any other thing. So yeah, um, I think I don't have anything else to really add. I have been having a little bit of a struggle thinking kind of clearly because I woke up and I think like 10 minutes after I woke up, I got hit by a fucking heavy notice or sad news. So still having to deal with that property. I guess it is crazy to see. The most crazy thing is to see how we have evolved to literally tell others, oh yeah, this person, they died in a horrible manner. Ha 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 ha. What the fuck was that? It was kind of a shock to see it happen, and even more in a sense from those who are close to me because, you know, their internal values are always there, like, we shouldn't do these things, and we shouldn't be bad mouthing others and blah blah blah. So when it happened, it was like, what the fuck? But aside from that, everything else is really fine, I think. So it only needs a little bit of a clearance on my head to be more in what we are going to do right now. That is, give me a second. What? Ah, no, wait, I was on the wrong scene. Sorry. Here. Ah, fuck! This is cut off. This is cut off. I knew it. Fucking knew it. Give me a second. I will need to fix this. Give me a second. Give me a second. Give me fucking a second. What's this cut off? Why? As it always, it hasn't always been like that, right? I pray to God that it is this content, because if it was, I'm going directly crazy at this rate. It should be properly captured. Let me see. Let me give a second. I take this out. I go over to here, transition, and let me see. There is okay. There is a little bit of over here, right? Over here, almost. Yeah. Come over here. Give me another moment so that I can properly cut this. To here. How much it is? Like 3 pixels. There it is. I think so. Now for real, we're here. I activate this. I mute the music. And well, I don't think I have, as I said before, nothing else to add. So let us play this. What the fuck? Shut up.
Plato,
Normal
in
speed and
two
all
of
of
his
that.
texts, The Laches and the Symposium, explains how Socrates recalls an episode from the famous Battle of Delium in 424 BC between the Athenians and the Boeotians. The synopsis of his passage goes as follows. Consider a soldier at the front of the Boeotian line having the following realization. If our defense is successful, I still risk the chance of dying.
I mean, I have a problem. I have a real problem, and I mean it. I cannot understand this guy. It is auto-generated. Fuck it, there are no subtitles available. It will be a harder test. Let me rewatch this part. Then.
Soldier at the front of the Boeotian line having the following realization. If our defense is successful, I still risk the chance of dying.
Okay, if I didn't understand wrong, it is based on the as what he said before I understood. The whole story of the Athenians and the wars that they had, and in this particular case, taking advantage of the fact that you have, so to speak, or delving a little bit more into the ideology itself, it, it is an analysis of Plato, and Plato was a very fundamentalist in the sense of you should always try to do your best when you are, so to speak, observing things. And I mean, Platonian is by itself one of the biggest philosophy schools, but at the same time, we're going to see what else this guy adds to the theory, because one of the main takes in this particular case, for example, and even more from Plato and the ways in which he conveys these things is even if you think you're going to lose, you shouldn't really worry yourself so much with the results, because the act of taking action when you think that it is going to be harmful to you results in those actions not benefiting the individual or not benefiting the human who does that. But let's see.
If our defense is unsuccessful, I will almost certainly die. Based on this reasoning, it seems that the best alternative for the soldier is to run away regardless of who is going to win the battle. Now imagine if all soldiers were to exhibit this very reasoning at the same time. If such an event would occur, they would all probably realize that they would be better off running away.
Yes and no. I remember analyzing this when I was, so to speak, younger. It is true that the masses could come to such a conclusion, but it is also part of understanding that if there is no, so to speak, first spark of despair on the masses, there isn't also a necessity or a real, what was it? A real needle to get on the train of despair, searching for things like this one in particular, in where you try to find excuses to leave your responsibility. Because even more in the sense of these ancient warriors, when you were a warrior, you had to fight the battles that appeared in front of you, so to speak, because you have, so to speak, the responsibility of being a warrior. You couldn't escape the battle itself. It could happen, yes, but the things that will happen to you if you were to live would be the worst thing that could happen instead of simply because I left the battle, I didn't have that much of a hard time. So it is true on one side that you need, or that, so to speak, in this case, soldiers shouldn't think like that. But it is also true that it was very impossible for that to happen. And even if it were to happen, the mentality itself of the individuals wasn't that one that solidified itself on the idea of if one decides to live, we're all going to live. It was a rather if one decides to live, and even more on those times, we are going to punish that particular human who decides to leave the rest of our society behind for the sake of his own wellness. But continuing a little bit more.
Seemingly simple yet incredibly reasonable hypothesis is one of the first historical instances of game theory. Flash forward 2,368 years in 1944, Hungarian-American mathematician John von Neumann published a book titled Theory of Games and Economic Behavior. This foundational work contains the method for finding mutually consistent solutions for two-person zero-sum games. This great book introduced game theory as a concept, thus extending its application to fields like economics, politics, and sports, and leading to the expansion of the array of scientists that showed interest in it.
Okay, pause here, because, and even more in this kind of field, there is a thing that needs to be more than anything else is spoken of, and that is these particular ideas, even if what they try to say is true, they are applied on a very narrow reality. Because when we talk about individuals, and this is not a real problem, it is rather only another side of this realization. The individuals cannot really be expected to act accordingly to the measurements that you have already created, even more if the measures that you have predicate an idea that is applied to every single human, so to speak. Because it is true, for example, that you will expect humans to move their body throughout their life unavoidably, because it is a given act, yes, but that one thing doesn't relate at all to more complex behaviors and to more specific situations in which a lot of other measurements and a lot of other, so to speak, influence exert obviously their own influence on the individual. It isn't only that you say, yeah, you know, we are, so to speak, analyzing the humans and we expect anybody who engages, for example, in these cases, on economics endeavors, on political endeavors, or on sport endeavors to react the same way. Because in this pattern, you also have to see and to grasp, so to speak, that when the individuals tend to have their own personality and when their story is also something that affects the ways in which they interact with these particular objectives, it also becomes apparent that you might as well not really have the possibility of ignoring or leaving behind this part of them. Not because it is bad. Sorry, hello, welcome. Yes, Potato. It is me, Potato. Welcome. Today we are analyzing a video. Uh-huh. I never copied the. Give me a second. Thank you for not pointing it out, but making me notice. Give me a second. Copy this. Give me a second. Give me a second. Over here. What the fuck? Why is it such a long? Is it a broken link? Why is it such a long link? I am making some mistake here. What? I don't know. Um, I guess, yeah, I can send because it is. What? It is too long. What? What the fuck? YouTube is everything fine. Anyways, what the fuck? Anyways, as I was. Events in life. As I was trying to say then, hello. We are analyzing a video. We are going over some interesting idea that is, in this particular day, game theory, the pinnacle of decision making. And as I was rambling, I think I left it on, yeah, the individual's experiences on life and also the ways in which they engage with their own realities is more dependent on a lot of other factors, not on simple measurements that you can say, no matter who it is, they will react this way. In, so to speak, very narrow situations, you can accept that it will kind of happen and it will kind of be the same in very broad situations in which almost, so to speak, the patterns that are imprinted in the brain are expected to react in that way, so to speak. Very, okay, very concrete things are, for example, in situations in which you need to run away from, so to speak, a natural disaster, it is expected that no matter who you are, no matter where you live, no matter how much or how nothing of money you have, you will do it because the individual will try to preserve its own life. Yes, but that is not the same as in this, for example, case of an economical endeavor. If you were to be struck with poverty out of nowhere, after trying so hard, the different reactions that some individuals will have is not the same to those who, for example, high, hold themselves in high regards, and even if the situation is dire, so to speak, they will still strive to get to a better place, so to speak. So, in this particular manner, it is true that the behavioral connections and more so the behavioral kind of list that were created try to give a light in some parts, but other on the other side of this, they still lack, so to speak, a more profound conceptualization of the individuals because there is more than what simply meets the eye on the regards of taking into account in which and how many ways are the individuals going to react. So yes, basically that. Let's keep seeing.
One of those scientists was the legendary John Nash, who won the Nobel Memorial Prize in Economic Sciences in 1994 and popularized the idea of game theory as we know it today. Something very fundamental about game theory is that it doesn't get its name from the preconceived notion of game as we understand it. A game in game theory is an interaction between multiple people in which each player's payoff is affected by the decisions of others. Namely, any single interaction you're part of can be analyzed with game theory in order to produce the most beneficial outcome. But before we get into the mechanics, let's lay out the main principles.
Wait, because in this manner it is true that, so to speak, to a higher concept and to a higher degree, we talk about, in this case, about games, not in the sense of you're not simply entertaining yourself. It is rather the games in which society itself engages for the sake of trying to obtain something. But even more in this particular case, as it is kind of presented, the most interesting part is always how the persons themselves are going to see these particular games and which kind of rules they are trying to enforce, they are trying to, so to speak, destroy. Because when individuals play games, it is kind of implied that they will have or complaints, or at the very least, so to speak, good words about some rules that are created for the sake of maintaining an order. Because it is also another thing. A game isn't a game if there is no real order, as it is said here. Basically, you are doing things in a manner in which you expect a kind of same reaction from those who are around you. It more on the psychological side. If it isn't a game of equality, it isn't really a game that both parties or those who are playing it will enjoy, because a game cannot be expected to be played in a disadvantageous manner if the individuals do not agree on that beforehand. If you were to give it the possibility, and even more, for example, the game of socioeconomical structures that we have today, one of the biggest flaws that it has is that it is predicated on another model in which you, without even agreeing, will inevitably carry the burden of those who come before you, no matter if they are rich, no matter if they are poor, no matter if they have a factory, if they have an enterprise of incredible amounts of money, no matter what they have, you will have to spend your time and you will have to accept that it will become a part, not of your identity, because it doesn't simply define who you are, but of your roots. And if you were to take advantage of it, something that you can really say was a benefit to you, or if you really see it as a complete destruction of your intentions, a possibly incredibly and almost unsurmountable blockage in your pathway. Because, yes, basically that I cannot really add any more to that particular idea. The game of life itself is one in which we have a lot of things with which we do not agree, as since we are born. But let's keep seeing. It was more of the particular psychological point of view. So yeah, let's keep seeing what it also says.
Number 1. A game needs to include multiple players. Number 2. The players need to interact with each other. Number 3. There needs to be a reward. Number 4. We assume that players act rationally. Number 5. We assume that players act according to their personal self-interest. Prisoner's Dilemma is the most widely mentioned game in game theory. The basic premise is how to establish a mutually beneficial strategy between two members of a gang that got arrested and face potential imprisonment. The rules are as follows. Number 1, the players of the game are Prisoner A and Prisoner B. Number 2, the players can't communicate with each other. Number 3, if A and B each betray each other, each of them serves 2 years in prison. Number 4, if A betrays B but B remains silent, A will be set free and B will serve 3 years in prison, and vice versa. And number 5, if A and B both remain silent, both of them will only serve 1 year in prison. This matrix depicts the different choices of each member and signifies the number of years to serve according to each. Prisoner's Dilemma exemplifies to a great degree the substrate of human nature. The irrational, self-interest driven gang member will most probably choose to betray his counterpart, thinking that he will get a better deal. This idiosyncratic choice will most certainly lead to a disaster for both parties, since they will get the worst deal possible. The obvious mutually beneficial choice here is to keep silent. The main idea behind this game is to expose the inherent tendency of humans to display a lack of cooperation in these and similar games. Game theorists usually coin the terms dominant strategy and Nash equilibrium to distinguish the kind of strategies followed by the players.
Yes, but also another fact that I hope it is considered later on is the side of the coin, so to speak, that also talks about how the individuals themselves might as well not regard the sake of their only own benefit for the idea of trying to get a lesser pain overall. Because when you also introduce to the equation the side on the game theory itself, that humans also have the possibility of seeing, in a sense, how others will probably react in the future. When you add that to yourself, and you add that, so to speak, to, in this particular case, the analysis of the idea of, for example, this one, prisoner's dilemma. If you see that prisoners will not only do something that is beneficial for them, but also for those who are around them, you also need to add to the, so to speak, game rule, the idea of you might as well also sometimes realize that your most self beneficial thing isn't what the whole game players might need. Because if you were to betray, and if you were even more to try and do it in a manner in which you're not going to get anything out of it, aside from your own satisfaction, because we will kind of be risking, so to speak, the more complex idea of the one who you betrayed will probably come back to you due to the fact that you betrayed that human. So, in this same order, it also has another, so to speak, second layer to this, and that is when the individuals realize they are playing again, and they realize that sometimes their actions have an influence not only on how they interact with the game itself, the different ways in which they keep interacting with the same game changes. So it is true, yes, that on one hand we have particular games that sometimes are really only played on the basis of self-interest and nothing more. But at the same time, it isn't completely. Yeah, we're back. What the fuck? What the fuck was that? My brother, what? What the fuck? LMO. Anyways, what the fuck? I am back. Yeah. Um, Amazing quality content. It was intentional, I would even say. But anyways, continuing, as I was trying to finish, I think no, I cannot lose the fucking idea because it was so random to lose my internet out of nowhere. But I think it was something like you need to regard also the side of you know that what you do will also have consequences not only on that game but the ones you are going to engage in the future too. So it has more layers than to simply say you will win this one round, but the next games in which you are going to engage will sometimes even be completely lost due to your way in which you interacted before with other players. Because the ways in which individuals interact with these particular games also carries a meaning and also carries a significance not every single time for yourself, but mostly for others, those who really want, so to speak, to keep playing games with you. Because it also is apparent that when you are, so to speak, selfish, you lose the possibility of playing games in which not only you participate in a manner in which you say you enjoy it, but also others try to enjoy it with you rather than against you, so to speak. But that is not
Those
it.
two terms are usually used together and form the basis upon which game theory is founded.
Huh?
Dominant strategy refers to strategies that are better than other strategies for one player, no matter how the opponent may play. Those strategies might be great in the case of non-alternatives, but if you're part of a game with more dominant strategies, which means each player has his own dominant strategy, then they aren't optimal. In the prisoner's dilemma case, the dominant strategy for each player is to betray. And here is where the term Nash equilibrium comes into play. The term is used since John Nash explained the essentiality of equilibrium in his landmark work Equilibrium Points in N-Person Games. In essence, what he proposed is that even in high-level competitive games like Google versus Apple or USA versus Russia, there exists an equilibrium where no side would benefit by changing its course. At this equilibrium, each side knows its adversary very well and sticks to its strategy. For instance, in the prisoner's dilemma, the Nash equilibrium is the upper left square of the matrix, which means both prisoners need to stay silent. What makes Nash's theory of equilibrium so special is that it presupposes that in each game there is at least one point of equilibrium and all players will be better off trying to find it and form their strategy around it. This momentous revelation helped people in disciplines like politics, war, economics, business, and social theory understand the world better and form better strategies.
Yes, well, let me see, because he might say it, uh, but it is what we just went over. The desire to keep playing games from the individuals is also something that creates the necessity of finding these particular equilibriums. If you were to disregard the next games that you're going to play, you will always simply go with the most self-beneficial hand, disregarding anything else. But let's see if it is mentioned. If not, I will explain a
The
little bit more
inception of
things.
Nash equilibrium was portrayed exceptionally in the wonderful movie A Beautiful Mind.
Gentlemen?
Deep breaths.
Nash, you might want to stop shuffling your papers for 5 seconds.
I will not buy you gentlemen beer.
Oh, we're not here for beer, my friend.
Oh. Does anyone else feel she should be moving in slow motion?
Will she want a large wedding, you think?
You say swords, gentlemen? Pistols at dawn?
Have you remembered nothing? Recall the lessons of Adam Smith, the father of modern economics.
In competition, individual ambition serves the common good.
Exactly.
Every man for himself, gentlemen.
And those who strike out are stuck with their friends.
I'm not gonna strike out.
You can lead a blonde to water, but you can't make her drink.
I don't think he said
All
that.
right, nobody move. She's looking over him. Right, she's looking at Nash.
Oh, God. All right, he may have the upper hand now, but wait until he opens his mouth. Remember the last time?
Oh, yes, that was one for the history books.
However, I am going to cut copyright at this point, you know?
Adam Smith needs revision.
What are you talking about?
If we all go for the blonde, we block each other. Not a single one of us is going to get her. So then we go for her friends. But they will all give us the cold shoulder because nobody likes to be second choice. But what if no one goes for the blonde? We don't get in each other's way, and we don't insult the other girls. That's the only way we win. That's the only way we all get laid.
Even if people or companies rationally follow their own self interest, the best outcome is hard to reach when they can't or don't cooperate. Therefore, the best strategy is to continually scan the market for potential alliances. People who can forge strong alliances will eventually become part of oligopolies and thus dominate their market. The rest will consequently be ostracized. That's what I love about game theory. It approaches the game of life from its most axiomatic principle, that of evolution. Evolution equals adaptation, and therefore, life is an omnipresent game of adaptation. Humans thrive in cooperation.
Okay, wait. There is completely unrelated things. The game of life itself, so to speak, is something different from the socioeconomical landscape in which we live right now. The game of our own lives is not the same as the game of evolution, let's say. It is true, yes, but at the same time, it isn't on the same level, so to speak. One takes how much it was on average 100,000 years to see an advancement. Sometimes, if it isn't on the direst of the situations, and the other one, if it was created out of a necessity, on single weeks a human could change their whole lives. So it is not even on the same level, and it is even approximable or approachable from that sense. But continue. I don't think it makes sense to be so critical about it.
Operation because it is the main strategy that helped us survive and thrive after years of adversity and struggle to compete against different forces of nature. The sad thing is that after establishing our sovereignty, we overpowered other species and, in most occasions, nature itself, but eventually we turned ourselves against each other. There are a variety of factors that affect the descent to the point we have reached, but a game theory mindset can work to our advantage. I always believed that change and equilibrium start at the micro level, and that is something we fail to grasp because we are usually consumed by events at the macro. It is interesting to be in the know and discuss and argue about politics and national strategies, but at the end of the day, the trigger is pulled by the respective strategists. What each of us could do instead is to use game theory in our most challenging decisions and our closest relationships. Regardless of what decision you have made and how this will impact your future, think like a game theorist. Ponder questions like, are the actors in the situation rational? Are we able to reach Nash equilibrium? Do they act according to their self-interest? Do they understand the rules of the game? Is their dominant strategy really that dominant? If you see that most game theory parameters aren't met, you know that you have to change your approach. You either need to also act rationally, which is something I wouldn't suggest, or you need to step away and find better players or games. The choice is always yours.
Yeah, that is amazing, basically. I mean, the end message is good itself, yes, but at the same time, it is hard to do it. It is hard to take, so to speak, in that sense, the action and the desire to bring this into a reality, because you can really, so to speak, bring someone down from simply what they are feeling and how they are analyzing their world, sorry, while not really giving the regards that it kind of deserves. The whole side of, sometimes the the games in which you engage might not really be completely rational, even more because some other people might have the facade of being irrational when in reality their motivations are not rational. But you can't even know that yourself, even if you did the most outrageous of the actions, because people by nature tends to be deceiving, not in the sense in which you blame those who deceive you, but only to the degree to which you also understand that sometimes you don't really have the capacity of really asserting if they are or not rational in the games that you are trying to engage with them with, so to speak. But at the same time, it also gives you another outlook. I always see when we talk about game theory in general, when you analyze it, you also see the reality that is when you bring to the equation the possibility of explaining to others the rules of the game and to be understanding as much as you can about the best outcomes possible for every single player instead of focusing only on what you want, on what you think you yourself will be the most beneficial thing for everyone, and not trying your so to speak another simple strategy that is to show others how it would be the best way to get to the best solution, so to speak. You're also losing, and you're also closing off one of the best doors that is open for anybody to take, and that is the action and the decision of analyzing and getting to somewhere. And that somewhere in this particular instance is the place in which they can properly say and they can even more properly confess their interest into getting to an even higher state, so to speak. Because, as I have said before, one of the main interests of the individual is not to play one game, but to keep playing the same game or the similar games with those who they see fit and proper players. Because that is one of the most interesting things also on the humanity that we have. That is, we love to keep playing and we love to, if it is possible, keep spending our time with those who give us an enjoyable game. So yes, it is easy to say you need to change your outcome and you need to analyze, but it isn't really such a simple action to realize, I will say. But anyways, it was very interesting at the very least because the purpose of the video was more than anything else, not that we finish an introduction, it seemed. Not a real outlook on anything or not a real analysis on anything in particular. It was simply an introduction into the idea of plays and games and blah blah blah. It isn't that much of real content, so to speak, so it was fine yet. Even if it is true that we didn't have that much, it was still very fine. So yeah, I think it was pretty good for a random, completely out of nowhere video analysis. It was fine. So we did kind of great, you know. It it was better than nothing at all. So now I can't. Yeah, it has that kind of bitterness left because there are some other more deeply embedded rules when you also add psychology and you also the whole psychoanalysis that it is that ends up being required for these kind of events on people's lives, so to speak. Why? Because, as I said before, there are some things which you cannot disregard, no matter if you think or not if that they are useful or whatever. You need to have them present and you need to accept them, so to speak, in the sense of they are going to exert an influence in the ways in which my own game is going to keep not existing. But anyway, so far, at the very minimum level, it was interesting to see. It left kind of a clear landscape to keep even seeing more. So yeah, it was very fun so far. Uh, and with that said, I think we can also probably give this a closure. That is to raise some point because it wasn't that much, but just in case, it might as well be good to take a tiny break after this video analysis. And where are we living? Now we are riding Koikawake. Why? Because it is a beautiful event to read others, and because as always, it was a great occasion and an enjoyable experience which we had here. But it is already time to go, and it is more than anything else also time to take a break because, as always, we need to take care of ourselves. We need to rest when it is needed, and we need to get ready for the next occasion that might happen. Well, today it is like 3 or 4 hours, so basically that. But as always, thanks for watching, thanks for being here, thanks for hearing, thanks for lurking, thanks for watching the both, thanks for everything. It is always a pleasure. and it will never stop to being one. So yes, we. Okay, I can't get the fucking right message. So we might as well simply say, yeah. Bye, Vita. Give me a second that I need to craft it on the spot. There it is. There we have it. Now for real. Fuck. Bot decided to fucking die easy. But anyways, thanks for everything. We are leaving now. So yes, thanks for being here, and we might as well enjoy the next occasion. 10, 9, no, right now, now. Ah, now! Ah! Shut up!